Thanks for joining us tonight. Oh, here's one more. Come on in. Thanks for joining us. My name's Brian Wright. I'm the principal of Town Planning and Urban Design Collaborative, and I'm going to be doing my best to host this massive meeting tonight. This is great. Lots of participation, which I love, and I've been trying to make it as challenging as possible for you. If you were in the waiting room and kept getting kicked out, my apologies. I wanted to see who was really interested in the meeting. All right, let's see. Got a couple more here. There's Amy. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Can you hear me? Hey, I'm trying to get on. I'm on my phone right now. I did get in. Tell Ellen I did get in, but I'm waiting to get in on my computer. So I don't know if you see me there, but it says waiting for the host to let me in on my computer.
You snuck in the waiting room. All right. I will admit you.
Yeah, I'd rather be on my computer.
Oh, I can see you. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I'll get in the waiting room back here and let you in. Oh, good. There's some more people in there. Admit all.
Okay, there we go. I'm gonna get off my phone.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. So I was just saying I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can get started, and then I will. That's a little hard. One of the Zoom's Achilles heels is trying to show you the waiting room when people are actually logging in at the same time. So I'm gonna do my best to
There we go.
manage that.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Sure, of course. Can you guys see my screen?
There. It's there.
All right, if we could, I'm going to get everybody to turn off their video for a little bit, just so we can make sure we have enough bandwidth. And then we can get going. Hold on a second. I have, it's like an older person calling in here. Hold on.
Brian, I think you're on mute.
I said, bear with me, everybody. I've got one more in here in the waiting room, an older person trying to get her logged in. If you've been on a Zoom meeting before, you know that these things usually the first 10 minutes or so is getting everybody on board. So apologies if we're in a hurry tonight. Participants. All right. Go. Oh. Anybody else in the waiting room? Alan, do you maybe want to see if you can help Margaret get in somehow? All right, let's get started here. It's being recorded, so that's good.
I had to,
So I'm gonna
I
share my
just
screen again.
Googled, here, let me see if I can send it.
Ryan, did you need me to help somebody get in?
Yeah, I was hoping you could help Martin get in.
Margaret Martin? Okay.
Yeah, I thought you might have her contact info. All right. Can you all hear me okay?
Brian, the audio is quite patchy. I'm not sure if anybody else is experiencing that also.
Okay. Let me, can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay, great. All right, let's try this again. Fifth time's the charm.
I called in and I can't hear anything.
Hey, here we go. All right, can you see my screen now? All right, I'm gonna get started. Dirk, I can see you clearly on my screen, so if there are any audio or visual issues, I need you to wave at me, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And for the benefit of those attending tonight, let me just start by saying thank you for joining us. It's a delight to be in front of people here at these unusual times. I know this is a strange format for presenting a neighborhood meeting, but we're excited to do it, and we appreciate you taking time to participate with us tonight. First and foremost, I hope you and your families are safe and well during these trying times, but we're pushing forward and couldn't be more excited about what we have to present tonight with Brian. This has been the culmination of a long effort since our first neighborhood meeting back in April of last year. The plan has not changed significantly, but there are some meaningful updates that we're awfully excited about that we wanted to provide an appropriate venue in order to do so. Our initial idea was actually to do this in person at the Rutledge and have a combination neighborhood meeting and Cinco de Mayo celebration. So if anybody has any margarita recipes they'd like to share, please use the chat feature to do that with the group. Other than that, I'll hand it over to Brian and let him get started, and then we'll open it up for questions. Thanks so much.
Wonderful, thank you. So this is just like the old days when your projector wouldn't work. So this is no problem. Like my bulb burned out, now we're good. We got a new bulb. So what I want to do is run everybody through a presentation here tonight, and we're ironically going to start with how to use Zoom. So what we're going to do is have the presentation, and we're going to take questions and do Q&A at the end. And so as we do that, there's a chat feature. And so if you go, hold on, let me, can I mute everybody here? Everybody hit their mute button for me. Great. All right, so what we're gonna do is take those questions, you put them in the chat, then we're gonna repeat them for everybody and do Q&A at the end as well. So in order to, you can also raise your hand, so we'll know that somebody is wanting to ask a question, and so we'll put that in the queue. When you know Dirk raised his hand, his actual hand. But the way you do that in Zoom is to actually you click down where it says participants, and then you see there's 3 dots there. You click on those dots, and it says raise hand, and then you can raise your hand, and then it'll show me that you've raised your hand. So a little bit more complicated than just regular raising your hand, but nonetheless, here we are. So right now, I've got a list of the participants. We're going to run through, do a quick roll call, if you will. If you're here, unmute yourself, and we will go through and just say here. So first, John McBride. Okay, Margaret Martin.
Here.
Hey, Margaret. All right, it worked for you. I'm glad you could get in. Sorry about that. Eric Klotz. Ann Peterson. Alexander Hosey.
Hey, Brian. This
Yeah.
is Becky with TPUDC. I'm going to chime in. I've got the list of everyone who's in the meeting, so it may be quicker if I just say yes or no if I see them on this list.
Okay, great. That's great.
Alexander was here.
Wonderful. Emily Wright Hunter.
Is here.
Gavin Neville. Oh, Ellen.
I don't see.
Okay. Hold on one second. Alan, did you have something, technological issue you wanted to cover real quick? Okay. Amy Dasbariga.
Amy's here.
Okay. Becky, why don't you just run through the list and then you can just tell me who's not. How about that? You see it on the screen?
I can. I don't see Randy. I do see Lori. I don't see Diane. I don't see Brian. I do see Dana. I see a Troy Boss, or no, a Troy Grivna. Patty Ball is here. I don't see Lisa Fox. I don't see Napery. I don't see Susan.
No, don't bother.
I don't see Brian. I'm also not going to see people if they're logged in on their phone, but I think so far that's only one person. I do not see Molly. I do not see Sherry. Nope. No William. Troy, yes, this Troy Gribna is here. Royce, I do not see. Craig Eckert, no. Andrea, yes. Kate is a yes. I am a yes. Jimmy, I don't see. Dirk, I know is here. Caleb's here. JC, let's see. Don't see Blakely. Marvin is here. Terry is not here. Russell is here. Holt is here. Thomas, I don't see. Alan, I don't see. Pat Emery is here. Beverly Berger, I don't see. Joey Bryan, I do see. Let's see.
I see her actual face. There's Bev Berger.
Stewart is here. Ellen Thompson is here. Kyle is here. Scotty's here. Kate Alger is not here.
Great. So apologies for doing that. It's some of it's security purposes and some of it is just taking note of everyone who's here. Hold on one second. One of the things that I did want to do was to say thank you so much to Alderwoman Berger for coming and participating. I see here we're in her district, so we've got her there and others. Bev, do you have? I see your hand is raised. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it just says that I can't unmute myself because the host has me muted. So when you called roll call, I can't even answer because, but now it says you cannot unmute yourself because the host has muted you. So I'm just letting you know. I think Ellen got in and unmuted me. Now, if I push this again, I don't think I can get in. Let me see.
So you muted, now you can't unmute, I bet, right?
No.
And now I've unmuted you.
All right, so I think it has to come from the host.
Yes, yeah, we checked that setting on there, and what it basically we're doing is to help with the background noise.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, I'll mute it.
you for
I mean, I have no problem. Usually when we do the Zooms, you just mute yourself and then you can unmute it, but it's showing me I can't unmute myself. So I just want to let you know that.
Yes, thank you. And this was a little different than when you have your meetings, because the general public is only able to watch those on YouTube or Facebook Live or whatever. And so we have some extra security protocols in here just to be sure. So that's why the hand raising is a important part. But hopefully we'll be able to get to everything at the end. So just type your questions and things in at the end of the discussion. So we'll go from there. All right. So the first thing that we want.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Lori Horner. Randy Horner is here with me. We're husband and wife. I just wanted to let you know you didn't get him on roll call, but we're together.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for letting us know. All right, so here we are tonight at the neighborhood meeting. As Dirk said earlier, this is really an update to the meeting we had months and months ago at this point. We have, fortunately, are here to give you an update rather than to tell you about a whole new plan or a whole new project, so that's good. And then other upcoming opportunities for input are the Planning Commission hearing that will be held on the May 28th. And then on July 28th, there's a BOMA public hearing as well. So this is not certainly your only opportunity to weigh in or give input, but I just wanted to share that with you as well. There's lots of processes that come ahead before this. We've already done our joint conceptual workshop presentation and many other meetings throughout. So that's where we are. So the site, I know many of you are neighbors and may be quite familiar with the location. It is here. You'll see I-65 here on the left. And then we also have Cool Springs Boulevard to the south. And we have Crothers Parkway bordering on the east, and then Baker's Bridge up to the north. And our site is within the red dotted line, the old Primus building, or Ford Motor Credit. And so that is the apple of our eye when it comes to this project. Now, one of the things that is important from our perspective, and also from the city's perspective, is to really respect and honor all the concepts and ideas that are in Envision Franklin, which is the guiding vision document for the future of the growth and development of the city. And so we've always used that as the guide as we were moving forward with this project. For those of you who don't know, there's a newly adopted, as of December, new zoning ordinance. And the zoning ordinance was written to essentially support Envision Franklin and allow for all of the vision and concepts within it to be easily accomplished. And so we previously were working with the old zoning ordinance, and now that we've come back around this time, we're under the new zoning ordinance, and it has been a much smoother process because it anticipates projects like this. So good job there. If you haven't been into the site, this is what it looks like from an experiential perspective. You have lots of scenic vistas of parking lots like this. They've done a good job parking. There are swales and trees and a few things here and there. The giant building on the site. Here's a better view of that building. And there's a few areas that are essentially holding zones for potential development in the future. But there's also an old cemetery on the site, which is really nice. And so that's been cool to start to think about that. What you can see on the screen here and within the yellow line, that is the property boundary. This is roughly 50 acres or so. With the 500,000 square feet of office in the middle, all surrounded by parking lots. And we are looking to see, how we can make a better place than is currently found on the site right now. And this is the master plan as it stands currently. If you were at the last neighborhood meeting or the joint conceptual workshop, you may have seen this already. But the idea is to create a true neighborhood, more urban in its character, but a neighborhood nonetheless. Here you see Carruthers Parkway, here is 65. Here is the Meridian development. This is the area where the IRS building is and other things. And so the way that the site is designed, the primary entrance is here. This is our main street, if you will. And the idea is to have a mixed use project. So a true mix of uses. What you can see is the darker brick color are intended to be commercial or some other activation on the ground floor. That would be along our main street. The orange are office buildings. This one, because it is in sort of our main commercial loop, has the idea would be to have some commercial function on the ground floor there. The purple areas here are indicating potential hotels. And again, those that are facing where they're facing these main streets, having an activated ground floor that's accessible to the public and has hopefully some commercial uses. And then the other areas here, the lighter brick color, are intended to be multifamily of some sort. And then we have some row houses here as well. But the thing that's most interesting and noteworthy about the site, in addition to the mix of uses, is that we have actually incorporated very, very vital and active streetscapes with outdoor dining, with parks and plazas. There's a large existing tree stand on the site here. All these existing trees we've saved and the feature, really the heart of the project, and everything kind of works around that. You also may notice that we saved the existing building. It right now has lots of people working in there, and so we worked the plan around that. But we wanted to also allow for things that were going on in the building currently, like the cafeteria, to actually be able to become a cafe and start to face out onto the streetscape here and enliven this side of the street. You'll see these little red shapes, these buildings, they represent pavilions or what we call jewel box buildings. So sort of small, lightweight buildings that have interesting things going on in them. You'll also notice here along Carruthers, we're showing a transit stop right now. We're not sure exactly where it's going to end up, but nonetheless, we want to have a transit stop as part of the project. Currently, based on the transit services provided, we're imagining that it would happen most likely out here. But at some point, if there's transit is something that is more heavily relied upon in the city, it would be certainly great to have more within the site, so somebody could hop on here and come out or however it works. The other thing you'll notice is the connection points to our neighbors to the north and to the south. We couldn't get any connection points over here, obviously, to the interstate, but connectivity is important to the city, part of Envision Franklin, and also important to our team. What we want to do is make sure that the adjacent developments are fully connected so that the people who are working there or shopping there have full advantage of the amenities that we have here and vice versa. So we hope to have nice flow between all of the sites. Another thing you'll notice is we have these parking structures within each block. And so rather than having one or two parking structures for the whole site, we've distributed them throughout, which has a real positive impact on traffic distribution at different times when people will be coming or going to work or going in the evenings, people who live here. And so really trying to find ways to make this a true neighborhood, even though it has a different mix of uses than you may normally see. But what we know is that this project won't happen overnight. We wouldn't want it to. And so what we're trying to do is come up with a concept that really is a phased approach, very thoughtful approach. And so we imagine that it's probably 15 to 20 year, 10 to 20 year build out. Where you never know how the market's going to go, but right now that's what we're anticipating. What I'm going to do now is actually turn it over to Caleb Thorne on our team from Reagan Smith to talk a little bit about the infrastructure improvements that are part of this project. Caleb,
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, great.
Can you hear me good?
Perfect. Yep.
Great. Thank you all. I'm Caleb Thorne with Reagan Smith and Associates. We're the lead engineer on this exciting project. As you think about a project like this, one thing you consider is traffic or proposed traffic, because that is a critical part of the conversation when redeveloping an area of this type of caliber. Because of that, as you may have known from the previous meeting, we worked extensively with the city and a third-party consultant and have taken that effort to additional study. We looked at the analysis that entailed the AM, the midday, and the PM conditions, working wholeheartedly with that third-party consultant who led the effort for us. It was agreed that from this analysis that we have a couple of critical areas as it relates to the existing conditions, the proposed background conditions due to other approved developments which have not been constructed, and because of our proposed conditions that will occur after full build out. From this extensive effort, it is understood that if this development does not occur and no off-site improvements are being proposed to occur, then the same areas that we recognize as critical will still be there from those background developments over this full build out time period. Specifically in these off-site areas of improvement, we want to give a summary to you all in a three-stage approach. This summary is not directly correlated with how we plan to build these improvements, but it allows you to view them fully. And as you see in the screen before you, the three stages I'm going to look at are the ones highlighted in blue. Next slide, please, Brian. This slide illustrates the improvements that we anticipate along our front door or along Carruthers Parkway. This entails improvements that occur at our access points, specifically to our three existing locations that are along Carruthers. It shows signalization improvements, laneage, turning movements into and out of our development. In this corridor, as Brian mentioned, we do plan to have a mass transit location that will be emphasized today or tomorrow as the circulator improves in Franklin, but do expect it to occur out in Carruthers. The next slide illustrates the second location, which is near the intersection of Carruthers and Cool Springs. This illustration shows the full intersection improvements that will occur from laneages north-south on Carruthers and east-west on Cool Springs. It also illustrates the I-65 ramp improvements that we expect to do on the northbound ramp as well as the southbound ramp located on the lower left of the screen. The third location, which is the next slide, of critical areas that we expect for these off-site improvements is the intersection of Bakers Bridge and Carruthers. From this, we plan to do signalization improvements, laneage improvements on Bakers Bridge, as well as laneage improvements on Carruthers Parkway. these are those critical areas that we looked at, analyzed, and came to an understand to be part of these off-site improvements that are expected to have the impacts and the improvements from the development. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it. All right. So for us, recognizing that the one of the concerns for people in the city, especially in and around the Cool Springs area, are those topics that Caleb just covered related to infrastructure. But another thing that we know in our interactions with the community is, as a primary concern, is community character. What's the character of Franklin today and into the future? And so we've really focused on character as a key component to everything we're doing, in the built form as well. So we wanted to reference and look at the historical architecture in the city and in the region. But then sort of what's the Eastworks District twist on that, sort of the Cool Springs relevant version. How do you have a little bit of a modern twist on it? So we're not trying to replicate Main Street, if you will, because I think most people would agree that any effort to replicate Main Street would probably fall short. It's so lovely. Here's some examples of some of the types of architecture we're looking at. You see different types of buildings, different scales of buildings, some mixed use, some intimate residential courtyards, and some of the multifamily. And these are some things we're looking at for inspiration, but also trying to understand really, even smaller scale things. I mentioned the row houses that we're looking at. What do those look like? What's the Eastworks District version of that? These we had a little bit more of a even more modern twist on in our inspirational images. But another thing when we're looking at doing a project like this, creating a neighborhood that is not as suburban as most of the city is, you know that the open spaces or civic spaces are really important to the viability of the project, not only from the people who are living there, the residents, but also visitors and people working there as well. So here's our inspiration board for some of the really exciting types of open spaces we're looking at. And we want it to be a place that's, obviously compelling for, people who find this type of neighborhood, the type of place they want to live. A lot of times you see young professionals or, you'll see seniors want to be in a more active environment. But we also imagine that there are, people who are going to want to come with their family and hang out on a Friday night. So having places that are inviting for them as well. Public art and activation is another key component for us. We don't want this just to be another mixed use project in the city. We want it to be really and truly unique. So infusing art and, twinkly lights and, all of these kind of things throughout the project that add a unique twist on it and make it not just your average development. And then also even something that's typically mundane like stormwater becomes an opportunity for us to create character. So not only are we dealing with stormwater conventionally, but we want to try to incorporate sustainable stormwater techniques and have those techniques be beautiful. So here are examples of some beautiful sustainable stormwater techniques. But we know that just doing a project like this is, it can't just be a coffee table book with pretty pictures like that. It has to get down into the details as well. And so Caleb and Scotty and Alan and others at Reagan Smith have been working on looking at the details. So this is a sort of a detailed beginnings of an engineering drawing showing how our sustainable stormwater features are distributed throughout the project in order to deal with all of the technical requirements that the city has for new development and to improve it. Right now we have, all these large surface parking lots on the site today that just sheet flow off. And so we're trying to find ways that we can use natural infiltration and other techniques to really be much more sensitive and sustainable moving forward. Here, I'm going to show you a series of renderings. You may have seen some of these recently in the newspaper or online, I guess. It's not a newspaper anymore, but and these are actually images of a 3D model that was built based on the plan you saw. So these aren't just sort of theoretical drawings. This is very detailed based on the plans, looking at so you can start to get a sense of the character. You can start to see, how transit stops, are incorporated and people are entering sort of the main street, and there's loops around and connecting into the other communities or developments adjacent. You can start to see that even though we have, a building or buildings that would be, an entire block, essentially, we've broken them down. The new zoning ordinance does a really good job of requiring that, and we wouldn't want to do it any other way, because it really makes the project feel much more fine-grained and intimate and interesting. And then you see the existing building there peeking it up through the middle, the large existing trees that we saved, and let's see what's next. So here's a zoom in. Here's the plan. You can see this is the view this way. Here's Carruthers Parkway along, and here's 65. So here's a view over the existing tree stand that's now the main central park, the heart of the neighborhood. We have the mixed use development along here. Here we're showing some of the office components with mixed use, hotel components. You can see our parking structures are all tucked away and hidden in the rear so that they're not out on the street, but they're safe and well lit and well signed so that they're convenient for people to find. We've even, you can see here, the existing building, making the plaza incorporated into it. So this all feels like it works together. And then it will be a truly exceptional experience. Here's a more of a street level view where you can start to see, again, here's some office component. Here we have some of our public art shown, some of these pavilions on the corner here, our safe pedestrian ways, our sustainable stormwater features incorporated into the streetscape, and just really trying to get a sense of what this place will feel like when you're there. And even more so here, this is the main entrance drive coming in. Here you can see people sitting out at the cafe, our sustainable stormwater, our street trees and lights and on-street parking, and hopefully, cars are driving slowly through here. So it feels like the pedestrians have a real priority, but we've, incorporated all of the techniques that Caleb mentioned earlier to make sure that traffic still flows as it needs to and is required to, and we would want it to from the development team's perspective as well. This is a view showing some of the way the row houses could incorporate. While we don't have lots and lots of row houses, also looking at the idea of some of the larger buildings where they're facing the row houses, they can be designed so that their facades are broken down so that they really feel like they're relevant to a townhouse or row house across the street. Then always having these pocket parks and sidewalks and street trees throughout to make this place feel really, really walkable. So that is the very fast fly through of what we've been thinking about and what we've been doing since we talked to all of you last time. And for those who are new, this will be the first time you may have seen this. So I'm going to go ahead and pause. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, I think, so then I can see the chat and we'll start taking questions and have a discussion for the rest of our time here. All right, chat, let's see. Here we go. All right, does anybody have their hand raised? I don't see any. No questions. All right, I know
there's a question in the chat. There's 2 questions in the chat.
Okay. Thanks, Becky. Can you call them out to me here?
Everyone should be able to see them. The first is, what traffic transportation improvements are needed and or being proposed at Carruthers and Moores Lane? And does the city of Franklin have the ability to work within Brentwood city limits to make these needed improvements?
Great. Caleb, do you want to address that? If I unmuted you, you would, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Good question. So just to repeat, the question is related to traffic improvements being proposed at Carruthers and Moores Lane, and does City of Franklin have the ability to work with the Brentwood city limits to make these needed improvements? When you think about that location, it's more of a regional approach from the distance that is from our development. And fortunately, City of Franklin has kicked off what they're calling the Cool Springs Transportation Study. This study is analyzing a regional approach from Moore's Lane north all the way down to McEwen, east on Carruthers and west on Mallory. So there may be some things that come out of that study related to improvements at that intersection. And I could see some of our roadway impact fees going towards those improvements in the long run. However, specifically to our traffic study that was around the areas of improvement of our development, there are no expectations for us to make improvements at that location. In regard to the second part, do they have the ability to work with the City of Brentwood to make those needed improvements? And I think I'd rather rely on staff to make that call, and I don't know the engineering staff here is to do it. However, I do know that there has been a good working relationship over the recent years with staff coordinating with them. So.
Great, thanks, Caleb. One thing I just realized was I see that our BOMA member, Bev Berger, has her hand up, and I was planning on giving her the floor anyway before Q&A. So, Bev, did you have a few things that you wanted to add?
No, I'm glad to wait my turn. You know, don't you have another question? I'll wait. Why don't you go ahead and answer what's up there on the chat?
Sure.
Because I've got a few.
Oh, okay, great. All right, so the next question is, where will the occupants or visitors of the 500,000 square foot existing office building park once the improvements are complete? So one of the things that we've had to do is really focus on understanding what the needs of the existing building is, and sort of do no harm approach to that building. And so we have been working with the office folks there to find ways to make sure that our parking is accommodating their needs. So we have additional parking that accommodates that square footage. And then that distributed approach that I mentioned before with our parking garages, we also, it allows for a phased approach. So as we do development on a particular parcel that may have parking on it, then the parking structure that would be in that phase would, or the phase prior to that even, would be able to accommodate those needs. So I don't know if, Dirk, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No. Right. You know, there's a lot of people that work in the Carruthers building. We want to make sure that they have proximate and convenient parking similar to what they have now. In many cases, the structured parking garages that will be created are closer and to the existing building than where they're parking currently, and it's covered and protected. So we think that's an improvement, and we hope that the existing tenants will enjoy that benefit.
Yes, thank you, Dirk. And by the way, I didn't say it at the beginning, but Dirk Melton there and Kyle McGavin that you may see are the representatives from Market Street, the development team. And let's see, we have another question here. Yes, so Andrea had some questions that she emailed me earlier. I'm trying to unmute you, Andrea. I thought you could, since you're here, you could just ask them.
Well, I was concerned about, for one thing, schools, and I wanted to know the impact that it will have on Williamson County schools.
Great. Dirk, do you want to field that one?
Can you hear me now?
Right now.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thank you for that question. That's something that certainly is on people's minds. As you know, Williamson County is a tremendous reputation for its educational system. I think what you'll find with a project like ours in the 20 years that it will be built out, that the effect on the local schools will be relatively minor. Currently, this particular property is zoned for Kenrose for elementary, Woodland for middle, and Ravenwood for high school in its current zones. And I think what you'll find is, you know, we're primarily marketing the residential projects in the project to young professionals and empty nesters primarily, and we don't expect a lot of school-age kids. So there'll be more information on that to come as we get to the site plan process and start to really dial in the number of residential units per building and whatnot. But we anticipate that the impact will be relatively minor.
So is that I'm not participated in any conversations like this before. So is this something that the superintendent of the schools gets involved in, or is it just you and the city?
Yeah, I'll refer to staff on that one, but I believe it's primarily with us as the applicant and then the city through the rezoning process.
Well, possibly Ms. Berger, do you have more information on that?
I can speak to, well, we do know that apartments have the least amount of effect on the schools. And for sales and single family homes have the greatest effect on schools. So I don't think there's any single family homes for this development, but there is some for sales, which is good. We definitely want the row houses. I believe those are the ones that will be for purchase. Every year I get the numbers from Williamson County Schools and Franklin Special Schools for the amount of children and students that come from our apartment complexes. So over the years, I think Alera Apartments there on Carruthers is the highest count of students from apartment complexes. I think Dirks is correct where it says that the effect or the amount of students coming, the number of students coming from those kinds of developments is less intense. And if I'm correct in that, from what I'm been told by the schools and everything, that we have less students coming from apartments than we do for sale. Residentials.
Yeah, one thing I may just add, we do have to coordinate with the school districts as we go through the entitlement process and go through an anticipation of students' expectations, and as well as expected fees that we anticipate on paying towards the school system for capital improvements throughout their district.
Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Those schools that were mentioned are all county schools. None of them are in Franklin Special School District.
Right. Yeah. And I might make the comment too that your project's about a 20-year, 15-year project at least. So when do you envision what phase that you would add in residential? I mean, you'll be adding residential in 2 or 3 phases. I don't think it's just all one phase. Is that correct?
Yeah, Ms. Berger, that's a great point. Because it is such a long build out, we're hopeful that we can deliver one of the residential buildings with each phase that we would be doing. Right now, there are 6 or 7 phases in the development. So just from a timing standpoint, assuming that we're fortunate to be successful with the rezoning, we wouldn't be starting a project until probably at least this time next year, and that would take 2 years to build. So our first delivery wouldn't be until 2023, and then we would expect to have a build out through about 2040. So I would assume in our plans that we would be looking at a residential building delivering about every 3 years, and the impact of that in terms of school-age kids is probably 15 to 20 students per year. Added to the system. So, you know, that's according to our statistics and what we believe will be the number of families living in the development. So again, a fairly minor impact.
And I might also add just on the school end that the Williamson County Schools, and I do believe Franklin Special as well, but I know Williamson County Schools Superintendent Golden and his team meet with our city every quarter to discuss growth, impact, build out, where they anticipate new buildings, new residential, and the impact. So I had a meeting about a year ago with Superintendent Golden on that exact same thing, and he continues to have those quarterly meetings with the city as well. So your impact is going to be over numerous years.
Well, yeah, I guess I understand what you're saying. But the problem is that Centennial is almost, or it is at capacity. It's either very close or there, as is Ravenwood. So what that would mean, even though you might have small numbers that you're projecting is that people in our neighborhood in the currently zoned for either Ravenwood or Centennial and the elementary school will be zoned out or could be zoned out. So a small number of students actually does have a big impact.
Well, I did talk with the schools, well, it's been a while, but I think within the next 8 to 10 years, there'll probably be another high school in this district. So that will probably be happening as well. And we never know how they're going to zone these schools. And
Correct.
that's always, you know, a tough one to figure that out. But I
Right.
do believe that they'll be seeing a new high school probably within the next 10 years in this entire area, because Brentwood is doing more development than Franklin at this point, right in this area for residential. It's more residential happening in Brentwood right around this area.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's see, looks like there's another question from Susan about connections to the IRS building. Alan, I was gonna let you cover that one. Oh, there you go, you're unmuted, perfect.
Yes. Yeah, Susan, this is Alan Thompson. Yeah, the IRS building connection, there is currently an existing easement that goes through the IRS parking lot. It goes from north to south, connecting our site to International Drive. That easement, that's an access easement. That easement is also connected to an access easement that goes due east between the Home 2 Suites hotel and the office building immediately east to the IRS building, where it connects to an access
Sounds like it.
easement connecting north-south through that particular property. So that's an interconnective access easement, and we are currently proposing to connect to that easement.
Great, thank you, Alan. All right, let's see. Questions aren't just rolling in.
Well, Brian, I have some things I can speak to if you're ready.
Yes, please.
Okay, I left it unmuted so I could get in there. Okay, there's a few things. Can you speak, I think it's Caleb speaking to the roads. I wanted a refresher on, I know there's 3 access points to this development to Eastworks off of Carruthers. Yeah, three access points. But to the north and the south, how many access points there are? How many connectivity points are there?
To the north, currently being proposed, you see 2 existing locations that we would be connecting to. And then to the south, there is 1 existing location that we'd be connecting to.
Because we have, especially to the south, and then the north, you've got Baker's Bridge. So I think the more connectivity, the more points of connectivity on both north and south is going to be really helpful to that development and the developments to the north and south of it, so people can access everything that's going to be there.
Correct.
Then can you tell me too, you're going to be improving the on-ramp to I-65 and the new lane onto I-65. That comes off of Cool Springs as you're traveling south in Cool Springs and you're taking a right, which is to the west on Cool Springs Boulevard. And you're going south on Carruthers. You take a right, which is west on Cool Springs Boulevard, sorry. And then you're going to get on the interstate to go north. How many feet is that new lane and the access point to that?
We're approximately moving that northbound ramp improvement about 150 feet to the west from where it exists now. And it's going to tie it into a true intersection improvement there versus the direct on-ramp. So what it will end up doing is making the flow movement from the intersection of Cool Springs and Carruthers better as you approach that directional traffic going north, specifically at that location, and it'll allow cars to move through that area quicker.
Yeah. I can't tell you how that is that will be a huge improvement, because that's where people get bogged up, and we've got to get that flow going. Then the other thing is, you mentioned transit site on the outside at Carruthers. I think when you all are planning, Ellen and Dirks and all of you, Caleb, you need to plan to bring them in and actually plan the stops throughout the development now, because I think that there will be a need. And also, until there is a need, you can use them as Uber and Lyft pickups and driver pickups. So you can use them for both scenarios there as well. So, and I believe that your hotel is, if that hotel happens, which it may, will be down the road quite a few years, because right now it's probably not the time to do that. I just want to mention the hotel because I know people will have different opinions on that. The stormwater, I know you have all worked on that with the city and got that worked out pretty much. But are you going to be, you mentioned some water features. Will you be doing some water features with rainwater fountains and that, like a rain, anything from a rain curtain to a rain bowl to a bowl kind of thing? I'm thinking of this architect that did something up in Minnesota. It's a rainwater fountain, and then at Penn State they've got one of those rain bowls. Are you going to incorporate some of these things in to make them more interesting rather than just holding areas?
Yeah, I think that was the slide that I showed about sustainable stormwater and it's part of character. I think we take that really seriously. My general rule of thumb as a planner when I'm talking to the engineers is, and I said this to Caleb and Scotty and Alan from the beginning, I said, I don't want to have a pond unless I want to have a pond. Like, I don't want to have, some stormwater feature just somewhere because, the engineering requires it. If we need something, let's turn it into something great. So I think, from my perspective and the character building, the placemaking side of things, the more we can celebrate the water, the better off we are. We've got to use the land for it anyway. And so why not make it a real value added feature to the development rather than just some fenced off pit?
Yeah, and I'll send you a couple pictures on that rain curtain. I thought it was really cool. Also, how many multifamily versus row houses for sale homes or for sale units? What's the percentage in that? What's the balance there?
Yes, I've got, Scotty, are you unmuted? Oh, Dirk, you got that? Go for it, Dirk.
We've talked about this before, but I just want to remind everybody what that is.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Berger, for that question. We don't have the mix quite figured out just quite yet. There actually aren't that many comps in the marketplace for sale residential of the type that we're talking about, those being condominiums and attached row houses. The most recent of those in northern Williamson County were built more than 10 years ago. And so we're trying to establish what the demand is for those. I personally think there is demand for that, and we'd like to incorporate that into the plan. I'll be an empty nester in 2026, so I want to buy one myself. So we're going to be studying that really hard to figure out what the market looks like at that time, and really try to advance that forward, because I think there's demand for it.
Okay, and then you mentioned a lot of outdoor use. Did you say something about an open area off of the premise building that you'll be constructing for an outside cafe? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, right now inside the building, that's the side of the building that's facing our main green space where the existing trees are being preserved in the heart of our project. There is currently a cafeteria or cafe that supports the workers in the building right now. There is a little patio outside. I think you can walk out there. It doesn't seem to be used all that often, at least when I've been there. I mean, maybe it wasn't a nice day, but what we'd like to do is actually have that become a storefront, restaurant, commercial looking storefront that really addresses the street, like on the other sides around the Village Green. And so it becomes something, that is really for more than just the people who work in the building. And a lot of times what we see when you do something like that, the quality of the food, I haven't eaten there, so it may be wonderful already, but usually the quality of the food goes up because you don't have such a captive audience.
Right. And then the last thing I had, a couple quick things. I saw on your slide for open space, you had a picture of that open area out. It's near Seaside, I believe, down close to Seaside, that outdoor area where they had the concerts and they had the seating where you can throw your blankets down and then kids can kick a ball around. You can go to the food vendor trucks and you can get something, or the restaurants bring it out, sit down. It's a really great area for families and business people as well. So I was wondering if, when you showed that slide, if you could incorporate something like that. So we really don't have anything like that. I mean, we have that little park over there off of McEwen South by Whole Foods, by Bricks, between Bricks and the Payway area. They've got that little open park area. That's really great. People love to use that. So just talking about how you can incorporate that in there. I really like I'm just going to say one more thing. I really like the improvements that you're planning for the roads, especially at Cool Springs and Carruthers, especially getting on I-65 and the movement down to Baker's Bridge. All those things are really going to be needed. They're needed today. So your development, I'm glad will improve those things as well. And I think those are all my comments right now. I think you answered everything else with the infrastructure. What's the water authority over there? I can't remember. Is that Mallory Valley?
Valley.
Is it? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like Andrea has another question about what the price points are for the rentals and the square footage range. Dirk, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Andrea, we're just on the very front end of trying to figure that out. We actually haven't initiated the design for any of the residential buildings just quite yet because we're still in the entitlement process. But based on the comparable units that we would be looking to in the submarket up and down Carruthers and then across the interstate, we're typically finding that a multifamily unit is going to average in size between 850 and 950 square feet, a combination of 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, maybe some 3s. We're finding in the marketplace that a market rate, 1 bedroom is probably starting in the $1,000 to $1,100 range, and a 2 bedroom is starting in the $1,700 to $1,800 range is what we're seeing in the market. So that may be consistent with where we wind up. Like I said, our first delivery is probably 3 years from now, so things could change in that amount of time, but we'll definitely be looking to the market to inform our development plan and how we want to execute on the first residential projects.
Thanks, Dirk. All right, I don't see any other questions in the chat. No hands are raised, and I have people dropping like flies. So,
Brian, if it's possible, one thing I'd love to do, I want to respect everybody's time. I know you don't want to probably get with your families. At our last neighborhood meeting in April of last year, we received some really valuable feedback from the community in terms of the type of activated amenities and services that you would like to see in this development. We have a lot of ground floor retail and restaurant space that we would like to curate specifically for the neighbors that will be the most likely stakeholders to use those amenities. And so, if we have some time here at the end, if you'll indulge me, I would love to bat around some ideas for the types of retailers, restaurants, and services you would like to see in the development, so that can be informing our plans as we move forward. That would be very valuable to us if you would provide us with that feedback.
Great. Andrew, do you want to go first? You're muted.
I don't know. I hate to say this, but it seems like we've sort of got just about everything we need in Cool Springs. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't be of help other than a dog park.
Well, let me give you an example. I really want Trader Joe's. So
Okay.
that would be a goal of mine if we could lasso that user and try to get them into the market. I think that'd be tremendous, but there may be some other things on everybody's list that would be really exciting to them if we were able to deliver on it.
Oh, okay. I would say then like a market that people could actually shop at and get their basic grocery needs met, like a Trader Joe's or a Straub's, if you ever heard of Straub's.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Oh, we've heard of it.
Okay, yeah, like a Straub's.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Ms. Berger?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go up to Charlottesville, Virginia, and look at Bodo Bagels. B-O-D-O, Bodo Bagel, Bodo's Bagels. Phenomenal. And Edgar's Bakery, Edgar's Bakery down in Birmingham and Huntsville.
Yes.
We don't have one here. Yeah, we don't have one up in Tennessee, I don't believe at all. That'd be great. I think these kinds of shops are really good for people. And healthy restaurants, something that has healthy foods. We've got the one over there in Gateway. What is the one I'm thinking of in Gateway? The market. Was a market, now it's market and restaurant over there at Gateway off of Moore's Lane, Franklin Road, Gateway Village. Can't remember the name of it right now, but we need some more healthy, people are looking for a healthy, not, vegetarians, vegan, but also, things that offer a variety of those options as well. So that's just on the food end. The trade, I'll second that thing for the Trader Joe's as well. And, it'd be great to put out, a little survey in the community and see what people might come up with.
Urban Market.
Urban Market, that's it. Yeah, something similar to that would be great. Where they really do have good healthy foods that you can order and eat. And a lot of our population are looking to that more. So that would be something I would suggest.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts? Share, we're adding to the list. We have some from our last neighborhood meeting. We're just adding to it. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for also bearing with us with the technology. It is not as easy as it, probably didn't seem easy. But it's next time, hopefully we'll be in person and I'll get to show you how we really do presentations. How about that? So I appreciate it. Everybody have a great evening. We'll be taking this list and adding to it. So if you have any additional thoughts, feel free to shoot us an email, give us a call, so we can try to get in this new neighborhood things that you're looking for.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. This is the first big redevelopment in Cool Springs. Actually, it's the first big redevelopment in Franklin. And so it's going to be our first great project for redevelopment here. And I think you put a lot of thought into it. We'll be interested to see how it goes and how you proceed in that development design and everything. But I appreciate you engaging the community. You've done a lot of engagement with the community, and I know you'll continue to do so. And as I hear things, I'll be glad to share them with you. But a true mixed use like this for redevelopment has all the elements I think you're bringing to it. Not only rental, but for sale, office, retail, activity. And I like the fact that you've got an inner, a walkway, you've got trails, you've got bicycle paths and connectivity, because there's a lot of stuff going on outside this area of the old Primus building to the north, the south of it. And there's a lot of people, there's hotels, there's motels, there's eateries, there's a lot of office. And so to get those people, rather than put into the development, rather than putting them back in cars on Cool Springs Boulevard, one of these days, maybe we can get this Cool Springs connector or circulator. I think we called it circulator, where we can circulate if people need to hop on and just go a couple blocks. But I think the connectivity is really going to be important. Thank you very much.